Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tamara. This is Love in a Big World. Thank you so much for joining us today about our conversation with Dr. Darryl Adams regarding social emotional learning and educational technology. Dr. Adams, interestingly enough, we're having a bit of technical difficulty, so you're going to see me and hear him, and then hopefully he'll pop up in just a few minutes. But we're going to go ahead and get started. So Dr. Adams, would you tell us a bit more about who you are and about what you've done in education, particularly related to EdTech and SEL?
Yes. Thank you. And I want to welcome everyone to the telecast today, the podcast today. Yes, Dr. Darryl Adams, born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee, and but now Californian for the last 31 years, and went into education because I truly believe that education for all is a prime reason that democracy survives. And so I really got involved in the technical side of education early on, and just felt like it was an opportunity to really use what schools at our students. And as a high school principal and a superintendent, I was always advocating for educational technologies for all students and a true representation of what education should mean to the whole child. So I really worked very, very hard to ensure that we address the social emotional side of learning, as well as the technical side, the teacher, content, curriculum, expertise side, the parent involvement, and of course, the whole community involvement. So educate the whole child, educate the whole community is sort of my mantra.
That's great. Thank you, sir. I didn't realize, I'm in Nashville.
Oh, you're Nashville. That's right.
Yes. So there's a home state connection there. And I love what you're talking about regarding the needs of the whole child, because one of the things that I'm mindful of and share with others all the time is that technology is here to stay. And our kids are on tech when they're not in school. So how can we leverage their desire to engage in that way to help them with their learning? And that really does help us meet the needs of the whole child.
Exactly. So important to really fully educate kids. And I think the focus should be on how do we prepare them for the future. That means, for college, career, citizenship. And I think that doing one and not doing the other, we talk about college career readiness, but what about citizenship readiness, emotional readiness, social responsibility readiness? So I hope that we can continue to move forward with social emotional learning and all the other types of initiatives that's going to really educate that whole child.
Mm-hmm. Now, as we're talking, everyone, you're going to see me take some notes, and that's to help me prepare for the next questions with Dr. Adams. And please feel free to add your questions to the chat, and we will take about the last 10 minutes to field your questions as well. So, Dr. Adams, when you consider the needs of the whole child and you consider the fact that technology is here to stay, what conversations do we need to have with teachers about the connection between social emotional learning, or SEL, and educational technology?
Well, I think it's important to have a conversation with the teacher regarding the fact that for that period or time that the student is with them, they're like family, so to speak. We educate them as if they're our own. And most teachers do that, and they're aware of that, and they're tuned into how students are feeling on a given day, or they're tuned into some of the strengths or challenges that some of their students have. So the conversations need to be, I think, continue to be around the fact that we're just not delivering content, we're delivering an education. And that includes nutrition, health, it includes emotional health, it includes self-awareness health. And so I think the more we continue to sophisticate ourselves on all the different areas we need to address, teachers are going to be at the forefront of that. And we have to ensure that they have enough training and to support themselves so they're able to deliver the type of well-rounded content that affect that whole child.
Mm-hmm. One of the things, Dr. Adams, that I've seen when I go into schools is that there still seems to be a bit of apprehension, if not fear, regarding student use of technology in the building. So when you're talking about needing to provide a whole child education, even in regards to nutrition as well as educational content, I mean, you're really talking about the needs of the entire child and preparing them for their lifespan. How can we help teachers understand the role that technology can play in helping them with this education?
Well, most of the teachers that I've been associated with, especially as a superintendent, they were educational technology ready. You know, they were ready to use whatever tool is available because our students were from a low socioeconomic background. And so they were really amped up and ready to address all the needs of the child. And they saw the value of using the technology to help educate them. And they saw the value of some of the social media tools out there and how it can help or hinder the child's education. And we addressed those in our training for teachers. It was very important that we have educational technology training and certification that allowed their teacher to go into the classroom and integrate the technology within their curriculum, but again, to address the social emotional needs of a child. And, you know, we had incidents that would come up where students were using technology inappropriately, and we use it as a teaching opportunity to help students understand the importance of using social media appropriately, technology appropriately. And teachers, you know, were constantly made aware of that, and we constantly trained on that and ensured that they were well aware of the new trends, because things are happening day to day, and each month there's a new technology tool that comes out or a new app that comes out. I mean, I think TikTok is the rage now or something. So,
yes, my daughter's on that all the time.
Yeah, so we want to make teachers aware of that and how it's been used and how students may use it in a positive or sometimes a negative way. So it's constant training, constant attention to details, making sure that they are armed with the best tools available to help those students make the right decisions in the use of technology.
I really love what you're saying about that, Dr. Adams, because what I hear you saying is we need to meet kids where they are. And if they're on technology, if they're using TikTok, then we need to use those same tools or give them permission and opportunity to use those same tools when they're in school.
Exactly. They need to really know that it's a powerful tool, but it can be used for great, I would say, advantage for society, but it also could be used to the detriment of society. And that one child could provoke, you know, an issue that a possible school shooting because they bullied someone through one of their applications. So they need to understand their responsibility in using technology and social media in general.
And that connection is back to what you said about preparing kids for college, career, and citizenship. What you're talking about is preparing them to be digital citizens and
Yes.
what their role and responsibility is in that digital world.
Yes. Digital citizenship is just as important as this regular democratic citizenship. One and the same, so to speak, but it's a different, it's just a different platform or way for students to understand that tool in their hands, again, can be used for good or for bad. And that they have a responsibility to use it appropriately. If they see something that's inappropriate, to make people aware of it. That some students feel isolated, or I might want to come, to do harm to myself or someone else. Let someone know. Someone's being bullied online, or let someone know, because we all are social, emotional human beings, and you just don't know what can trigger an individual. And so students need to understand their responsibility around it and the potential for harm. And I think that should be part of the curriculum. And when you're teaching the digital citizenship side, we use common sense education in our district, and some of the other programs, and ISTE has some great programs around digital citizenship. So all of those really help to just educate the student, the parent, and the teacher.
That's so good. And one of the things I'd say when I'm visiting with schools, talking with teachers and administrators, one of the biggest challenges that they're talking about is the impact of social media on their students and the drama that kids are bringing with them, particularly in middle school and high school, into the school.
They bring it into the school, and I mean, when students are, sometimes their self-esteem is affected by how many likes they got for a post, or some of the comments. I mean, Twitter could be just brutal when you start putting things out there, or some of the other applications that you start posting on Instagram or whatever, and you get some critical comments that could trigger someone. That could be very detrimental to the student psyche, especially in the young age, middle school, high school especially. You tend to see a lot of problems there. So we have to train them and prepare them and equip them to just stay focused on the positive, on using the tools for good, and for learning, and create an application yourself, or start a chat group on love and unity, and how we can do things to support each other. That's what we should be helping them understand, the power of those tools.
That's so good. So we've talked about teachers and students, but what about parents? What do we need to talk about with parents when it comes to SEL and educational technology?
Well, parents need to understand also as well, the power of these tools and the social emotional disposition of their children at different times as they grow up. I've had parents tell me, and I've experienced myself, when you have a newborn baby, they don't come with a manual. You kind of like, you're grabbing information forever. I mean, it's a little better now. You can Google why is she crying in the middle of the night. I mean, or how you deal with what is it, when they just, their teeth is grinding and they can't.
When their teeth are coming in.
Yeah, the teeth are coming in. How do you do? So you can Google that now, but still, it's some information that still needs to be addressed. And what about the parents who don't have Google or don't have access? Maybe the school can fill in the gaps in their learning, in their education. Your child between this age and this age is going to experience this. Your child between this age and this age is going to experience that. And now you have this technology tool that most children now do have a smartphone of some type, so they are connected digitally. So I think that we have to educate the parents on the impact of these tools and the age of their child, what they're going to be going through at different stages of their lives, and how they can be a positive influence on it. And we all have stories of, oh, my parent didn't do this, and my parent did that, or, I didn't get along with my dad or my stepdad or something like that. I think nowadays with the tools that we have, and we're a lot more intelligent in human behavior and how that progresses, that we can use tools now to educate parents on what to expect and how to support their children coming up through this digital age. I think that's going to be key to us moving forward in addressing those social emotional needs and just creating a better, more polite and loving society.
So I'm curious, Dr. Adams, when we're talking about this connection between teachers and parents, providing that kind of child development resources to them about what the kids are going through and encouraging this positive use of social media and other technology, were there particular programs or initiatives that you and your district took advantage of, particularly because you said you were serving a low SES district? So what are some tips for those who may not have funding available for devices, but want to provide that kind of connection?
Well, we definitely, like I mentioned before, we use common sense education. I think it was common sense media back in the day, but now it's common sense education. We used a lot of their information. We relied on what we learned at ISD. That was a platform and an organization that we used to help guide us. We worked with the Department of Education, the Department of Technology, because they were addressing some of those issues as well. But there's also, Verizon is doing some great work, Verizon Education. Cisco is another company that's addressing this as well. And I've seen a lot of other different companies kind of spring up that are addressing the issues. Even Minecraft was one of the tools that we used early on, but they even understood the importance of having a social media, social responsibility kind of application of support for their products. So those are some of the ones that we used, and we insisted on that as new companies started springing up around technology in 2011, 2012. Where's your social responsibility connection to this application to education, and how it's going to affect students' behavior, screen time, their access was very important. How do we limit access to those below the age of 13, and then teach responsibility to those above 13 to use it appropriately? So we insisted that companies provided us with ways to do that, and Apple was very important in helping us do that transition as well.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. So I'm curious, what EdTech tools do you find encourage a maker mentality? Because, so many times today we're consumers. We have so much information coming at us all the time, but what can we do to kind of flip the script and encourage kids to be makers?
Yeah, there's a lot of tools out there. I think, again, a lot comes organically from teachers and students, and how they want to see their school change, how they want to use technology to build a maker space, to either participate in a robotics competition or create drones and things of that nature. This program called Equity Maps that's pretty good and helps students figure out, how they can have conversations around equity and how things are affecting them. And I was in a mostly majority Hispanic community, but there was a distinct separation between native-born Hispanic students and sometimes students who were transitioning in, and there were some equity issues there that had to be addressed. Google has a tour creator that can allow students to take tours around the world and see different cultures and see different, how people relate to each other. I was doing some work in Canada recently. I just got back recently, and I just noticed the difference in the amount of diversity there. It's something for students to study, just the whole mentality and this kindness that I saw. There's going to be some people that honk their horn at you or whatever, or do whatever, but for the most part, they were very helpful and they were very accepting. And, I just think there was a more unified perspective and feeling I get when I go there, as opposed to kind of what we're experiencing now because of some issues in our country. But I think education will help sort of mend those kind of disruptions in our culture by teaching students to be kind, to be loving. What you're doing with Love in a Big World and the social emotional side of things that we're all starting to address on a larger scale, I think it's going to be very necessary, and definitely in the next 3 to 5 to 10 years, to bring us all back together and be more unified and understand each other and love each other and be able to say, I support this or I don't. This is why, but I'm not going to yell at you or be so to an extent where we're some people talking about a civil war. I'm like, what is this all about? I don't get that.
Right.
We're all American citizens, and we want to have our democracy be vibrant and inclusive. I think that programs like Love in the Big World and those that are addressing love and kindness and unity are going to be instrumental to building up that social emotional resilience in our kids and even us adults to make that change, to say, we're all one, we're all supporting each other. So I think technology will help us do that, build the communities around love and kindness and unity. So it's exciting. Yeah.
Friends who've joined us, please feel free to chat in your questions at this time if you have questions for Dr. Adams or for me, and we will address those. Dr. Adams, I want to dig a bit deeper into an issue you brought up about equity. What do you see is the biggest need right now in providing an equitable learning environment for all of our students?
I think recognition and awareness is the most important thing. We can sometimes go along as if everything's just fine because nobody's complaining or people are accepting their situation or the environment that they're in. But if we look deeper, there are going to be possibly some divisions or some uneasiness, or some challenges that we just kind of miss. And I think having conversations around, how do you feel about this? Are you included in that? Making sure that we're addressing cultural differences that are truly remarkable and make us stronger. And so I believe that equity, inclusion, and diversity is right up there with social emotional learning, things that we've sort of missed or not paid enough attention to because we're just so focused on reading, writing, and arithmetic, and they're getting ready for the test score, So I think that now it's a lot of districts, and I think a lot of states are starting to pay attention to the diversity, inclusion, equity issue, rightfully so. We have to sometimes as adults forget about what was done to us and think about what we need to do for our kids in the future. And we're a lot more sophisticated, a lot more intelligent. We have a lot more information. And so there's no excuse now. There's a program or an app that could help us include people more than we have. And we just need to make a conscious effort to ensure that everyone is included. I mean, when I was superintendent, I made sure every constituent had a voice. Student agency, parent agencies, teacher agency, classified employees. Everyone needs to have a voice and be heard and feel a part of the team and the family of just being citizens in this great country. So I'm happy to see that happening more and more. And I appreciate, again, what you're doing with your program. It really is going to help a lot.
Well, I appreciate that. So I have a question. When you're talking about, and I think this is amazing, that you were a superintendent who encouraged teacher voice and parent voice and student voice, there's a lot of people. So how did you aggregate what their feedback was for you, or what kind of tools? Because I'm guessing you might have used some technology for that. But what kind of resources did you use in order to help those people know that they were being heard?
Well, technology can help, with, Survey Monkey or whatever you want to do. But I just feel like you got to get out and touch the flesh, be in front of your parents, be in front of your students, be in front of your business leaders, be in front of your church leaders, and just go there. If it means going to the church on Sunday, if it means going to the parent meeting or PTA meeting, or going to the business commerce Chamber of Commerce meeting, setting up opportunities for parents to be involved. I had a parent governance type committee. I had a student governance type committee. I wanted to hear from everyone. It takes more time, but the time is well spent because it will address issues. And sometimes you even go to the people who we sometimes call them the naysayers, but the naysayers have some information that you may want to hear because they can sometimes spot that little flaw in your little special program that can really help you. And then if you kind of listen to them, before you know it, they become an ally, and they're not so much seen as a naysayer. So, but the fact that you gave an opportunity for them to speak and have some agency in the decision making, I think makes a huge difference. And I wouldn't change that for anything. The fact that you're going to be fully inclusive of everyone. I mean, I haven't go to kindergarten class. What do you think about this iPad?
I love that. And I love what you're saying about the in-person touch. One of the things that I've been saying to folks when I see them, people I haven't seen for a while, is like, I'm so happy to see you in real life, not just on Facebook or not just on Instagram. And for me, like, I love keeping up with people on social, but there's nothing that replaces that face-to-face contact. And as a leader, how much more important is that for you to be out and about in the community, providing that contact? And so I think there is that tension between the social or technological experience and feedback mechanism and the in-person feedback mechanism, that you can look people in the eyes and let them know that you really care. I have a question from someone. The question is, we are an online dropout recovery program. How would you recommend incorporating SEL into our curriculum?
Well, I would definitely look to some of the programs that are available around social emotional learning. I think there's a few that I was going to recommend to implement into the online program that'll fit in quite nicely. I mean, Classcraft is one, depending on what age your program is covering. Classcraft is one. is an engagement management system that really promote social emotional learning. It's kind of game-based too. Class Dojo is what we use as well. Kickboard, Heroes. There's several out there. 7 Mindsets. You want to look into that one as well. It's sort of like the Google for SEL. That'll be one that you can't go wrong. And they have a great website and great information available there. But you know, also ask your online community. Ask your online community as well, because it's amazing how much information students may have available, or parents, or other teachers in other districts or other online programs can assist. Whenever I mean, we could be right now. I think, like, not to be egotistical, but I'm one of the smartest person on the planet because I have Google, you know, and I know how to research with Google. You know, I know what's right, what's wrong, and what's valid information, you know, based on maybe it's a Harvard study, but maybe it's also a teacher who created a program that's going to work. So we can also all be the smartest people in the world if we use the tools that are available and we use them to help better this world. That's what I believe. Humans are human.
Dr. Adams, what closing thoughts do you have for us today?
I am so excited for you and what you're doing. I am following you every single day and love what you're doing.
You every day too.
Thank you. And if you don't know, people that are watching, this young lady is an awesome entertainer, singer, performer too. So I've heard. I've heard and seen some of your videos. I can't wait to get to Nashville and maybe catch one of your shows. But
you're one of my friends that I haven't ever met in real life yet. So when we meet in real life, it's going to be a party.
Yes, it will. I'm an entertainer, musician, singer, songwriter, rapper myself, and I have an album coming out next year. I've been working on this album since I retired from the superintendency, but it's really it's about education. It's about love. It's about unity. Actually, it's called Education Nation. And I just feel like if we're Education Nation, we're going to come together to ensure every child is educated, and we educate the whole child with the whole community, and we have an education nation that's better for all.
Yes, that's so good. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Dr. Adams, and I would love to have you back again to share with us about your work in Education Nation. That's the next conversation.
That'd be great. I would love to come back then because I have a couple of songs. One is called "Love to Live," and the premise is if you live to love, you can love to live, because you're spreading love, you're feeling love, it's coming back to you because you're giving it. And so with songs and messages like that, I would love to come back and share those with you and maybe play some of the music.
Yes, that would be great. Well, I'll email you talking about technology, and we can figure out a time maybe in the spring that you can share some of your music with us and tell us more about all that you're doing. But thank you so much for your commitment to our kids. Thank you for making sure that the children in your district had what they needed, the tools that they needed to level the playing field and make sure that they were well served and well taught. You are an example. Your leadership is an example for all of us, and I just want to honor you for that.
Thank you so much, and keep doing what you're doing. Keep on keeping on.
All right, and thank you, friends, for joining us today. We'll see you next month with Love in a Big World. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.